Welcome to our U.S. Briefing Show. Today, we kick things off with a bang as tensions between the U.S. and Iran heat up. After U.S. bombings on Iran's nuclear sites, Iran fired missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar, but most were intercepted. President Trump responded with gratitude and hinted at de-escalation, even announcing a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, though things are still uncertain. Regional conflicts and nuclear issues remain unresolved, leaving the region unstable and full of questions about Iran's future plans. Next, we dive into the world of American conservatism with William Buckley's fascinating legacy. Buckley, a towering figure who founded National Review and hosted Firing Line, helped shape conservative ideology in America. His complex views, rooted in tradition and hierarchy, influenced everything from civil rights debates to populist nationalism. Despite contradictions, his impact on the modern right, skeptical of government, multiculturalism, and embracing nationalism, still echoes today. An intriguing look at how ideas evolve and influence politics. Finally, we explore the icy battleground of the Arctic. As climate change melts the ice, Russia, China, and the US are vying for control of resources and shipping routes. Russia is developing its military and infrastructure, China is investing heavily in scientific ventures, and the US is falling behind with outdated equipment. The future of this strategic region hinges on control of resources and routes, with the risk of conflicts rising if the competition intensifies. The US needs to act fast to stay in the game or risk losing its influence in this vital arena. Please continue to watch for more detailed insights. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation vividly recounts the tense aftermath of the US military strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, emphasizing the delicate dance of diplomacy and military strategy. Iran's calculated missile barrage at the Al Udeid base in Qatar, which was preemptively warned by Iran itself, underscores a performative gesture rather than a full-scale attack, leaving minimal damage and no casualties. President Trump's response, expressed through social media, was notably conciliatory, thanking Iran for its early notice and suggesting a potential shift toward peace, even claiming Israel and Iran had agreed to a ceasefire. Yet, the region remains volatile, with conflicting reports about the ceasefire and ongoing missile exchanges, casting doubt on the stability of any peace agreement amid the broader chaos of Israeli-Palestinian violence and regional uncertainties. Foreign Affairs offers a profound reflection on William F. Buckley Jr., the architect of American conservatism, whose influence can be seen as a precursor to Trumpism. Buckley's life, marked by his aristocratic roots, sharp intellect, and performative style, embodied a conservative worldview rooted in hierarchy, morality, and cultural order. His pioneering work with National Review and the television show Firing Line shaped a political ethos that prioritized order over voice, often rejecting the progressive reforms of the mid-20th century. Tannenhaus's biography portrays Buckley as a complex figure, brilliant yet often unprepared, dogmatic yet charismatic, whose legacy is intertwined with a conservative movement that has drifted from its original ideals into a culture war-driven identity. Buckley's emphasis on cultural and moral order, combined with his penchant for provocative rhetoric, laid the groundwork for the populist and nationalist currents that define today's American right. Foreign Affairs also explores the escalating geopolitical contest over the Arctic as the new great game of the 21st century, involving the US, Russia, and China. The region's vast resources, strategic shipping routes, and military significance have rekindled Cold War-style rivalries, with Russia asserting its dominance through military and infrastructure buildup, China expanding its scientific and commercial footprint, and the US historically maintaining a presence that now lags behind its rivals. The narrative underscores the urgency for the US to modernize its Arctic capabilities, particularly its aging icebreaker fleet, and to forge stronger alliances and comprehensive strategies to secure critical minerals, maritime routes, and space-based assets. Without decisive action, the US risks losing its influence in this pivotal frontier, where control over the Arctic's resources and strategic pathways could determine future global power dynamics. The Foreign Affairs article titled, "How China Wins," vividly illustrates the current geopolitical landscape, emphasizing the emergence of a multipolar world where the United States and China are at the core of a transformed international order. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi both acknowledge this shift, yet their visions diverge sharply. Rubio's perspective reflects a retreat of U.S. global dominance, favoring unilateral action focused on the Western Hemisphere, while China envisions a more autonomous, transactional global system that curtails U.S. influence and expands China's strategic freedom alongside Russia. Oriana Schuyler Mastro's Upstart offers a detailed analysis of China's strategic rise, comparing it to industry upstarts that exploit gaps in established systems, highlighting how China's deliberate, decades-long strategy of exploitation, innovation, and selective emulation allowed it to grow quietly without provoking a major U.S. response until recent years. Meanwhile, Zhou Bo's "Should the World Fear China?" presents a Chinese narrative that downplays concerns, framing China's rise as a peaceful, responsible effort to shape a more just multipolar world, even as its actions, such as aggressive military buildup and assertive diplomacy, tell a more complex story. Together, these works underscore how the rivalry is reshaping global power, with the U.S. retreating and China expanding influence through a mix of strategic patience and assertiveness, fostering a chaotic, mercenary multipolarity where cooperation is scarce and competition intensifies. Simultaneously, Southeast Asia is starting to choose. From Foreign Affairs vividly captures how the region, home to nearly 700 million people, finds itself caught in the crossfire of U.S.-China rivalry. Despite official claims of neutrality, Southeast Asian nations are subtly shifting toward China, driven by economic opportunities, proximity, and domestic politics. Countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand are increasingly aligning with Beijing, as evidenced by their rising alignment scores over the past decade, while others like Vietnam and the Philippines show signs of drift toward China or cautious balancing. The region's strategic importance is underscored by its economic growth and geographic proximity to China, which exerts a gravitational pull that many governments find hard to resist, especially amid waning U.S. influence and uncertainty about American commitments. The region's future hinges on complex factors: domestic politics, economic dependencies, and the evolving U.S.-China competition, making Southeast Asia a pivotal arena where the outcome of great power rivalry could reshape regional stability and global power dynamics. Despite the drift toward China, regional skepticism persists, and the region's countries remain wary of complete dependence, highlighting a delicate balancing act in an increasingly fragmented and competitive international order. The Europe's Bad Nuclear Options article vividly depicts a continent grappling with its security future amid waning U.S. commitment and rising Russian threats. French President Emmanuel Macron's proposal for Europe to develop its own nuclear deterrent reflects a broader anxiety that the American nuclear umbrella may no longer be reliable, especially under the erratic policies of the second Trump administration. Historically skeptical of nuclear weapons, Europeans are now reconsidering their stance as Russia's nuclear arsenal and aggressive posture, exacerbated by its invasion of Ukraine, pose an existential threat. The challenge lies in Europe's limited nuclear capabilities. France and the UK possess only a fraction of Russia's arsenal, and building credible independent deterrence or a collective European nuclear force faces formidable legal, political, and societal obstacles. The debate intensifies around the feasibility of European nuclear proliferation, with possibilities ranging from nuclear sharing arrangements to regional arsenals, but each option carries risks of escalation, proliferation, and internal political discord. The looming threat of nuclear escalation in East Asia, especially with North Korea and China's nuclear pursuits, further complicates Europe's security calculus, leaving the continent in a precarious position where the only certainty is the need for preparedness against an uncertain, increasingly unstable nuclear future. Foreign Affairs paints a stark picture of the rapidly evolving nuclear landscape, emphasizing that the post-Cold War complacency has shattered. Once, nuclear weapons seemed relics of a bygone era, with the US and Russia actively reducing their arsenals and advocating for disarmament. Today, however, the world faces a Category 5 hurricane of nuclear threats, driven by China's unprecedented expansion to nearly 1,500 warheads by 2035, Russia's aggressive posturing, including nuclear threats and treaty withdrawals, and North Korea's and Iran's burgeoning nuclear ambitions. The strategic environment has become exponentially more complex, with multiple nuclear powers potentially coordinating or escalating conflicts simultaneously, risking a destabilizing cascade. The U.S. must modernize its aging arsenal, develop new capabilities, and rethink its deterrence strategies, shifting from a focus solely on counterforce to a more flexible, multi-layered approach, to maintain credible deterrence and protect allies. The challenge is compounded by the erosion of arms control agreements and the possibility that more countries, feeling insecure, may pursue nuclear weapons, further increasing the risk of catastrophic miscalculation. The article underscores that U.S. leadership must re-engage with nuclear diplomacy, reaffirm alliances, and adapt to a multipolar, multi-power nuclear world to prevent a nuclear catastrophe on an unprecedented scale. Foreign Affairs also explores how the post-Trump era demands a fundamental re-evaluation of U.S. foreign policy, advocating for a zero-based approach that starts from a clean slate. The Trump administration's disruptive policies, marked by tariffs, skepticism of alliances, and a transactional view of power, have accelerated the decline of the liberal international order and emboldened rivals like China and Russia. Despite initial resilience under Biden, the global landscape is shifting toward multipolarity, with emerging powers asserting greater autonomy and traditional institutions weakening. The next U.S. president must craft a strategic reset, reassessing interests, values, and capabilities, by embracing technological and economic tools, strengthening alliances through cooperation on trade, technology, and shared security, and prioritizing influence over sheer military dominance. This involves a comprehensive, forward-looking review that considers the constraints of limited resources, domestic opinion, and the need to adapt to a world where American leadership is no longer unchallenged. The article warns that without such a strategic overhaul, the U.S. risks ceding ground to rivals, fragmenting its alliances, and losing its global influence, potentially leaving the world more unstable and dangerous than ever before. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spit, walls come down. Voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd. Broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen. Every link a different theme, words collide in the stream. 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than nuts. Hear the voices rise a lot, truth unveils in every spot. Cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a stroke. Every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code. Journalistic real deep, secrets out they don't see. Every angle they will keep, in the news we take a lead. New perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray, every story finds its way. Perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray, every story finds its way.
Cultures, like how, what really or do not, what enough to be you, everything and ever, what enough enough to, what enough enough to, what enough 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 enough